So in this video I take this golf cart battery, which is extremely dead. It can barely even give 1 amp of current whenever I short it out, and turn it into a functional battery that still has a good portion of its original capacity in it. And it can provide a good amount of amps without dropping in voltage too much. Definitely usable. And I even added a handle to it. Just keep watching the video and you'll see how I did it. This is a very dead 6-volt deep cycle lead acid battery. This came out of an old golf cart. You can also find these inside of old forklifts and old electric cars. Now I got this before it was going to go to the recycling center, because what I did was I took an old battery like this one that I know I can't really fix. I took it to my local to a local store that sells and takes in core charges. I put it on the recycling skid and I took off that battery, because at the end of the day all they care about is the same number of batteries. And so let's try to revive this, and if it doesn't revive, we'll just take this one in and I'll trade it for another one. So the first thing we need to do is we need to open up the cells and check to make sure there's liquid over all of the cells, all the plates. You can see inside the cells there is liquid. Like if I hit the battery, the liquid jostles around a little bit, and it is above the plates. Now look at the plates. You can see that they are a little bit light grayish. That means that they do have a lot of sulfate buildup, but that should be manageable. The good thing is they are a deep cycle battery, which means that there's less chance of it shorting out because there's more space between the plates. Even though this battery cells have plenty of liquid inside of it, if they didn't, I would take regular water. Now, there is a heated debate on the internet whether you should use distilled water or regular water. And all of my batteries, I've used regular tap water, and it's worked perfectly fine for me. So you just squirt it in there as high as you need. You see, battery acid is only about 5 to 10% sulfuric acid, and it's 90 to 95% water. And that's why whenever you charge it, the water molecules break up into hydrogen and oxygen. But the sulfuric acid stays in there. That's why you only have to refill it with water. Now the thing is, if you overcharge the battery though, and you start smelling rotten eggs, that's hydrogen sulfide, I think. And that's with that reaction, you start losing some of the acid, so then you have to put back some of the acid if you overcharge it. But if you overcharge it, you're probably going to charge your battery irreparably. So I have some jumpers going down to the probes on my multimeter, and it says it's at 4.96 volts. It was at 5.5 before, but that was in a warm store, and now it's 37 degrees out here, so it's probably gone down due to the temperature. But what I have is I have my 20 volt 300 milliamp 300 milliamp solar panel, and we're going to attempt to charge it. I want to charge it a little faster than this, so let's ditch the solar panel. We're in my basement, which is not very well ventilated, but to counteract that, I'm going to only be charging it at a maximum of 2.25 volts per cell, and that helps to keep down bubbling. It helps a lot, actually. Like, you only see a couple bubbles inside the battery. Okay, so the battery's at 5.07 volts, and let's do a load test. At around 3 volts, it's pulling 3 amps, so it's not doing too good at all. It's dropping down to almost 2.5 volts. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the voltage on the power supply so it starts taking more power. And what it's doing is it's limiting it to 930 milliamps of current going into it, so about 1 amp. And then if this battery starts to reach the 6.7 volts, it will start using less and less current. But I don't know for sure if this battery is good enough to get to that state yet. So this battery has gone up to 6.69 volts. It's been charging for 3.5 days total, and it hasn't really gone up much in the past 12 hours. So I'd say that's probably pretty much close to being finished. I was hoping for it to reach 7 volts, but it's certainly bubbling a little bit, so I'll turn it off now, and let's see where the voltage dips down to. So the voltage has gone down to 6.09 volts. That's not bad at all. Now let's do the load test again. Very nice. Very nice indeed. It's only dropped like 0.15 volts. Now I say let's do a discharge test to get the exact amp hours of the battery. So now we have the battery power going into the iMax B6 balance charger. And I'm going to utilize the discharge feature of it discharge. The cutoff voltage is 4.5 volts. Awesome. So now it'll be discharging. And as it discharges, it'll count up the milliamp hours of capacity that it uses. Well, it took 3 days and the battery gave 52 amp hours of capacity. And quite frankly, that's okay. That's about a quarter of its capacity. And it jumped back up to 5.72 volts. Not bad at all. And before I recharge it, let's see what the load test is. Wow, that is a revived battery, I'd say. Even dead, it still can run a light bulb. So if your golf cart charger isn't charging your batteries because it doesn't detect your batteries as being good anymore, try to charge it with this method and you might get some capacity back. Because I have to say, 25% capacity might be able to do the job, and it could save you a couple $100 in new batteries. We have the battery back in the light, and we can definitely tell it's going to need a wash. There's a lot of grime on it, so let's try water first, because I think most of this is just a little bit of dirt and grease. Also, if you check inside of it, you can see that the electrolyte hasn't gone down much at all. There's still plenty of electrolyte in there. That means that I didn't charge it at a very high voltage, which is very good, because if you charge it at too high of a voltage, you'll start boiling off your electrolyte, which will deplete your electrolyte, and also it will produce explosive hydrogen gas. So here's the battery, all cleaned up, and I think it came out really nicely. Unfortunately, the paint's chipping off the sides, but oh well. And I added a handle made out of an old belt that I found in a piece of PVC pipe. I believe these are structural supports. If they're not, I'll find out the hard way. Oh well. And so this battery is back on the charger. I'm wanting to put it up to 100%, and then I can maybe use it for stuff. But I am going to be making another video later on in a few months after I've let this battery desulfator work on this. And then we'll do another discharge test and see what the results are of the battery desulfator. Now that thing is just a piece of crap, so don't take that as a result of all desulfators. That's just a crappy desulfator. But if I do make that video, I will put a link in the description of this video, and I'll also put an annotation at the end of this video, so you can go watch that one later on. And lastly, I do understand that most people don't have access to a universal power supply like this, but to be honest, you don't have to have anything as near as sophisticated as this, and that's super simple. All you really need is a simple 12-volt power supply, or in the case of this, probably like a 6-volt or 8-volt power supply. But just everybody has these laying around from old printers and lamps and stuff. Just you can find them everywhere in the garbage. Just you cut off the ends and you hook them up. It's as simple as that. And just monitor the voltage with your multimeter. I would recommend, if you're going to work with batteries, always get a multimeter, but they're pretty easy to come by. Well, I will keep you up to date on all my attempts to revive this battery even further. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. See ya!